Sup Shredders, my name is Logan, aka Spiderhands, and welcome to an xMBER, where today we got ourselves a track from an act named xMBER off of the Romeo and Hell EP, if I'm not mistaken, titled Let Me Bleed. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves the art on the screen on Spotify there. There's 3 tracks on this. We're going to be listening to the first. We're going to listen through Let Me Bleed from start till finish, and we're going to hear what we think. Let's do it, let's go. What do we got? I like the tone of that guitar.
I said I don't want to talk about it. But I want to know. Just tell me, come on. No. Come on, please. I keep it in case I ever want to commit suicide, okay? Wow.
Let me bleed, girl, let me bleed. Wash the red drip down my jeans. Shawty gone now. No, I can't even sleep. Papa's saying, girl, I'm dropping to my knees. Yeah, let me bleed, girl, let me bleed. Wash the red drip down my jeans. Shawty gone now. No, I can't even sleep. Just let me dream, let me be me, yeah. I just wanna feel some real, even if it's that blade on my skin. Every memory I cut out, baby, I don't even know the sun's out. Let me bleed, girl, let me bleed. Woke up in an all black truck, tears roll slow, that is more from the blunt. Tell me you love me, then leave with a hunch. Baby, oh, why do you hate me so much? I can't do this shit no more. I know I'm gone, I know I'm broke. That's the only reason that I quit the smoke, quit the dope.
I don't know if they're glitching.
2026, suck my dick, ho.
Kind of a surreal experience listening through that. There are parts I liked about it musically. I can appreciate what's going on there. The lyrics are clearly intense, especially that, well, a lot of it was intense. We're going to talk about it more in the conclusion, because welcome to the conclusion, my review of this track from an act named xMBER off of the Romeo and Hell EP titled Let Me Bleed. In this section, I'm going to provide an overall song analysis of everything through from vocals through studio production, as well as any applicable constructive critique, and then finally my general thoughts from a listener's perspective. But first of all, what do we think this track is about? I think that this track it's interesting because clearly it's discussing some serious stuff. They've got the Family Guy kind of like sample at the start where it's Brian talking about needing it in case he wants to sort of off himself, which is, you know, clearly some dark matter. And then you get into talking about where he's asking the person to let them bleed, and because they just want to feel something, and they just kind of, it just genuinely sounds like they're struggling to cope with life and getting through the day. They don't even know if the sun's up. It just seems like they're struggling, you know. And provided that's an authentic experience they're having, you know, you just feel really bad for them. I've heard a lot of music like this recently over the last few years, and it's not like this kind of angle of songwriting or, you know, being more expressive about our feelings is something that's only happened over the 2020s. It's been something right back over the last 100 years on and off, I suppose, you know, to varying degrees. But it's just, yeah, there'll be people that can relate to this, and I just hope everyone involved, and I mean this sincerely, is able to find happiness, you know, and find a way to hopefully feel good things. If that's not being too sort of derogatory, I don't mean it that way. It's well intentioned. Vocally, I think the storytelling of having the Family Guy sample at the start was effective, primarily because it just kind of, it gives you a hint of what's to come in a more sort of accessible, familiar manner. Then you bring xMBER in, and they just blunt with you. They've got this kind of slur to the way they sing, which kind of makes it seem like they're kind of having a kind of a tough time getting the words out. It's a very sort of raw experience for them. they hit the notes cleanly for the most part. I like that it's not overproduced and they're not trying to sort of tune themselves too much. They've got this lots of different tracks to kind of spread it around the stereo field, which is kind of neat. There's a resonance there that is effective. And ultimately, I think the reverb tails that they have make it more sort of like ghostly sounding. It's a kind of an interesting effect they have there, and they adjust the way that it's presented through the piece. No complaints there from my part. I think it's good. You know, like they sound like they're going through what they're talking about for the most part. And yeah, you've got that in the space of 2 minutes 20, where the note choices harmonize neatly with the surrounding elements instrumentally. And it makes sense. With the vocals and lyrics kind of handled here, you've got the track itself, we're at 2 minutes 20. It's right within that 2 to 4 minute sweet spot, where if it's less than 2 minutes 20, you might be missing some additional context needed to really sort of like flesh out a piece. If it's longer than 4 minutes, then you may be overplaying stuff and getting yourself into a position where things are becoming a bit stale. In this situation, we don't really have that at all. I think the guitar part that we have at the beginning is really beautiful. There's a lovely sort of chorus on the electric arpeggios, and we've got some extensions or ninths there that are really pretty sounding harmonically. It's a theme that kind of continues through the piece, and there's nice mid-range texture that is a nice foil to some of the sung vocals later on. There are also some keys as well that play certain notes or similar notes, if I'm not mistaken, either in the same or different octave range, and they just sort of reinforce things quite effectively there. There's like a intense sort of reverb and sort of compression to it that makes everything relatively similarly loud, but it doesn't squeeze it too much. I think the bass, the 808 that you got when it comes in, just nicely and neatly rounds out the low end without any issues. You know, it's got sort of presence and heft to it because of that. Works well within that kind of trapper kind of hip hop style. And then you've got the kicks and the claps and stuff like that after that for a nice sort of rhythmic feel, covering the quarters, eighths, sixteenths in a way that allows a halftime feel to sort of appear, not in a sense of pace. It's just kind of more sort of giving rhythmic substance to the kind of ether that we're in, with all the surrounding elements with the delays and reverbs and other bits of coloration. I like the fact that the 808s aren't constant. That you have some parts where things float. Sometimes you have the drums, sometimes you don't. That's a compositional dynamic range through the addition and reduction of those parts. And I appreciate that it's not too constant in regards to the perceived loudness. We do have conscious efforts of adjusting those reverb tails and other elements as well. We clearly understand our fundamentals of production and are exploring some really interesting angles, and I think it's really neat. Just sincerely, I think the actual instrumental side of things is great. That the track is short enough that it doesn't overstay its welcome, despite the consistency or repetition of certain elements there. It's good. I feel like we got the point that we wanted across in that form factor. It's well handled. I mean, thematically, it's minor leaning, but the ninths to it offer a very pretty sort of glow that kind of suggests that there's like a light that we're looking towards and that we're not going to allow it to kind of ultimately destroy us. We are looking for an alternate situation there. I think that if you just had the sort of typical major or minor triads there, it just would have been a little bit too sort of literal on the nose with the vocals. So I'm glad that we're playing with some extensions and other sort of like more sort of sophisticated harmonies. Ultimately, I think it describes the nuance that is put forward here, and if this is the state of the first track compositionally and how it connects to the lyrics and the vocals, I think that we're in steady hands for the rest of the EP. Studio recording, mixing, and mastering, very well handled for the most part. Really happy with the clarity of elements within the mix, whether again it is those keys, the guitars, the bass, or the drums there. There's enough dynamic range production-wise where even though it's quite a loud mix, it doesn't sound over compressed. You can hear the different parts around the stereo field, the music surrounds you in the headphones. The different vocal layers in particular do go wider as they pass, and the reverbs are sort of like panned as well. I dig that. I think that's really neat. There's also a nice sort of click and push to some of the percussive elements there, in part due to the way things have been EQ'd with no sort of resonant frequencies in the frequency spectrum. It's nice and loud. A bit of pumping, that's totally fine. Bus compression limiting is handled. And ultimately, aside from, there's no applicable constructive critique. Just from a general listener's perspective, as someone who's unfamiliar with Young Ensembles' work, I just hope that they're doing okay. It's some really heavy subject matter that we're discussing here. I think it's better to sort of talk about it and get it out there than it is maybe to sort of hold it in. So I'm thankful for that. It's just a reminder that some people go through some hell, and I wish them all the best of luck in future. And I hope that they find happiness. I mean that sincerely. or at least peace. But thank you for watching my review of this track from an act named Young Somber, titled Let Me Bleed, off of the Romeo and Hell album. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go show them some love via the various social medias and Spotify page, and stay cool and stay safe. Please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you in the next SB Reacts. Spiderhands out.